It's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here are the guys, Tony Torcato and Norm Ordez.
That's right. Hey, we're back, and Tony's back in studio with us.
Back
Tony,
at it.
man, we had to send out the search party for you.
Back, baby. Thank you.
And as always, Brian Erickson there at the controls. Our first guest this morning is, one of the baseball families, the Campanis family. You got the Boones, you've got the Rosens and whatnot, but Campanis family, I rate up there. I mean, they don't have the playing experience as the Boones do, but, Grandpa Al, of course, was general manager. Mm-hmm. Jimmy played, and then his son Junior played as well, and we got Jimmy Campanis on with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So,
thanks for letting me on.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. And so, right off the bat, you were traded. Your dad traded you to the Pirates when he became general manager of the Dodgers.
Well, everybody thought that was terrible that your father should trade you. Actually, I was traded to the Royals first.
Okay.
But the Dodgers had Ferguson, Yeager, and Socia in the minor leagues, and they would have taken my job within a year or two. So it got me an extra 4 or 5 years in the big leagues by being traded. So it wasn't that bad a deal. Plus, I got a substantial raise, which would help. So actually, even though people thought it was terrible that a father would trade his son, it was actually a good deal for me.
So now let's chat a little bit about your dad. And so Al Campanis, he'd worked with how long did he work with the Dodgers altogether?
50 years.
And so, Jim, your son...
He started as a player.
Right.
He played in the minor leagues, and he played... he was Jackie Robinson's first roommate in Montreal. And he played in the big leagues. He coached in the minor leagues. He managed in the minor leagues. He became a scout. Then and he signed Koufax and Tommy Davis, Clemente, a lot of ball players. And then he became in charge of the minor leagues. And then for 20 years, he was general manager of the Dodgers. Not that clear, huh?
He's got quite a background, especially, Jackie Robinson, being associated with Jackie Robinson, number one. And, I've heard stories of him scouting, Fidel Castro in Cuba. And, cool stories like that.
Well, one of the stories I like about Jackie is that Jackie, when he became Jackie Robinson and he became famous, they went on barnstorming tours in the wintertime because, baseball players didn't make a lot of money in those days.
Right.
And Jackie could take anybody he wanted on the Jackie Robinson All-Stars. And he picked my dad 3 years in a row to be on the team. And that was kind of cool to show that how much respect and how much they liked each other, that he would pick my dad, who was not a big star, but he picked my dad to play on that team, and they had a 3-year run at it. Very nice, huh?
It must have been pretty cool for you growing up in that setting.
Well, a quick story. I was like 10 years old, and I said, Dad, I'm going to write a story about Jackie for show and tell. And I said, could you get me a ball or a bat or something from Jackie? Because I got to show something. He said, sure. Where's your story? When is he talking? I said, I'm talking at 10:30. He said, okay. So I do the whole tell thing about Jackie being the first black player and his all-star, and his pace-stealing things, and how he was a great athlete. And I see out of the corner of my eye, I see my dad walk by. So the teacher says, Jimmy, your tell is really good. What are you going to show us? So I walk out to get this baseball, and my dad had brought Jackie Robinson to my school. And at that time, it's like bringing Kershaw or someone like that into your class. It was like, everybody went crazy. They stopped the whole school. And so my show was Jackie Robinson in person.
Dude, how cool is that?
I know. So I was a big kid on campus for a long time because not that I had known Jackie Robinson, but somehow we got him to my school. And of course, like I said, he went to the auditorium, gave a half-hour speech. really classy guy, gracious. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better representative of anything than Jackie. You know, and people don't know this, but after he retired, he became the first. You know, he was the first black man to play in the big league. He became the first black man to become vice president of a major corporation, and that was called Chock full of Nuts, the coffee people. And he was the first one to do that too. So he was a pioneer in many ways. And thank God he and my dad were good buddies, and you know that was a good story.
You know, we loved hearing the Jackie Robinson stories. Of course, here coming up in April, we'll have Carl Erskine come on the show, and Carl will talk about Jackie as well, and what that man did for baseball. I mean, more than baseball. I mean, baseball. Baseball was. Go ahead.
At the time too, there was very few college graduates in the big league, and he was a college graduate, and that changed a lot of people's thinking that maybe we should send our kids, because everybody wants to play baseball. So in high school, they all want to go out and play. Well, he was the first one of the first year that was a college graduate that showed people that maybe you can make it in the big leagues and make it bigger because you're smarter than most other people. And he was a college graduate. He did it. I mean, if you followed his career and stuff, you'd realize that he did a lot of things because he was really smart.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. You got to be smarter than the next guy to make it to the big leagues.
And to do what he did, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the movie 42.
Of course.
Of course, it's Hollywood, and it depicts only so much, but what it showed, though, the stuff that he had to go through, I don't know if I could have gone through that. I would have came up fighting.
My first year in the minor leagues, I played in the Florida State League, and that was 1961. And in 1961, they still had the colored bathrooms, and they still had all this other stuff. So here I am from New York and then California, where we didn't experience any of that, and I'm thrown into Florida. And man, it really tugged out your heart to see what, in 1961, let alone in the 40s and 50s when Jackie played, how it was. But it's amazing. Within 10 years, all that cleared up. I mean, it was. They couldn't eat in the same restaurants we ate. They couldn't stay at our hotel. I mean, on and on and on. And then 10 years later, in spring training, everything was okay again. It was just he did go through a lot, being the first of anything stuff.
Different world, back then. I mean, I remember my dad telling stories of being stationed in Georgia during that time in 1961, and they're in a little town called Byron, and he said that they got a dog from one of the local families, and blacks would walk on the other side of the street because of this dog. And I mean, it was good to good white people, but black people, and then that's just the way it was back then. You drank from a different water fountain, you ate at a different place. As sad as it is, that's the way the world was. And I'm glad it's changing. Definitely. Yeah. There are tons of baseball players who got screwed back in those days, because Jackie Robinson was the first black man to play Major League Baseball. Was he the best black athlete at that time? Who knows? I don't know. I wasn't around that time, but people talk about Josh Gibson,
sure.
and Satchel Paige and different players that should have and possibly could have come before Jackie, but they didn't. Jackie was the right guy at the right time.
Exactly.
Satchel Paige pitched in big leagues when he was 44.
Right.
And he was rookie of the year at 44. he could still pitch at 44. So it just goes to show that there's a lot of talent out there. It's just that at the time, and thank God Grant Trickey had this vision and decided to change everything. And it was the right thing to do, and he knew it was the right thing to do. And of course, now things have been changed and everything's moving in the right direction, of course.
Right.
Yeah. Thank God for that.
Yeah, no kidding. I got to tell a little story. So Jim and Jimmy came through Salem here last summer, and I got a chance to catch up with them at Kaiser out the Outback out there, and we sat down, and my stepson Connor and we had some drinks and dinner and talked and stuff like that. And Jimmy breaks out his Dodgers World Series ring, and he looks over at Connor and he's like, "Hey, I bet you haven't seen one of these." Well, of course, Connor, we're a Giants family. And so, my buddy Joe Migloretto, working with the Giants, shooting video, thing comes out of Connor's mouth is, "I've seen 3 of them." and Jimmy kind of pulls it back a little bit and just kind of chuckles. And you've done the book tour with your son. And how's that been accepted out there?
Well, it's done really well. The book's done really well. It's called BornIntoBaseball.com. It's 25 stories, my dad's stories, 25 of my stories, and then 50 of Jimmy's stories. And it's done very well. It's because it's a short story book. You can pick it up and read 4 or 5 of them, and then put it down and then come back. It's nothing like you have to read to the end to find out the ending. And it's kind of cool because it's done through the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, to the 90s, and through 2000 when Jimmy retired. So it's a kind of a cool book, and we had a great time with it. I was very surprised at how many women bought this book. I mean, so yeah, the list goes to Jimmy's house, and then he packs them up and sends them, and then you buy it on Amazon also, and then from the publisher you can buy them. So we have the one through the that you buy it and put it on your tablet or
the
phone.
iTunes, which I highly recommend. That one is, I mean, it's different from reading it and then listening to Jim tell the stories. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
He's a college graduate. Jimmy went to USC, so a lot of his, and that's what he took. He took sports journalism. We never thought he'd write a book, but the title and the whole thing ended up being really, really good. And I spent 14 days, 6 inches from him. We were in the car together. We drove together. We went like 3,000 miles on this book tour, and it was so much fun. He's a terrible, terrible driver. He drives 90 miles an hour in the fast. And it scared me to death half the time. But besides that, we had a great time. And I was very surprised at how good he eats. I mean, he has a special time where he eats in the morning. He eats good food. He does the whole thing, and so maybe he did listen to his mother along the way here, right?
So what do you think was the highlight of your career?
Well, what I'm kind of noted for is I caught Sandy Koufax's last win in Dodger Stadium. In fact, in the Hall of Fame, my buddies came back about 6 months ago, and they showed me the picture. There's a picture of Sandy Koufax, and then his uniform, and then there's the glove right next to him. It says, "Glasgow to catch Koufax, Dodger Stadium, won by Jim Campanis."
Nice.
So that was kind of cool. When they asked me for it, I didn't really want to send it to him. And then the whole family jumped all over me. He said, "Dad." I said, okay. So I sent it to him. And when my grandson went there, he saw it, but my buddies took pictures of it. So now I have the pictures on my phone of Sandy's uniform and the last glove to catch Koufax.
You need to get back there and check that out yourself.
Yeah, I went through there. I mean, so much stuff there. I mean, I don't know when they put this, but I've been through there twice, and unless you look for it or try to hunt it down, because he has a whole section of Koufax stuff there.
Nice.
But I was very very happy that my found it, took pictures of it, so now at least I had something. And catching on that team with Koufax and Drysdale. Catching Padres and all these other guys, it was a real thrill for me because they were my boys and
Right. So I want to get your take on a couple of different things. So baseball's changing a little bit. They're starting to tweak some rules and stuff, and the big one for this year is the intentional walk rule. What's your take on that? I don't necessarily like it because on the pitch out on that intentional walk, so many different things can happen. I don't like it.
Well, I agree with you with that. I don't think it's, there's been probably 100 instances where the guy's thrown the ball away or bounced it or did something. And, the thing too, what it does for a pitcher, it kind of throws his rhythm off.
True.
Because he's used to, aiming it down low, keeping the ball down, and giving his full effort. Now he's got to throw it about half speed or three-quarter speed away from the other. And sometimes after you walk somebody, they can't get their rhythm back. More times than not, I've seen it. At least the first pitch after you walk somebody, you got to zero in the first pitch afterwards. After you just thrown 4 pitches, where you flipped it more than threw it. So I don't know it, but when they went to the DH, I was against that, and so was Mr. O'Malley, and they never had it in the National League.
Right.
But I think it's great. I think the DH is a great rule to have in that league.
Right.
Because at that time they had a lot of aging sluggers that couldn't feel it anymore, but could still hit. I mean, Ortiz, he had another 5 years to his career.
Absolutely.
And I think that's great for that league. The National League, on the other hand, it's a more purist league, and I think it's great for the National League to don't have our DH.
And I want to finally ask you about Clayton Kershaw. Of course, we all know, and Tony here is a Giant guy, and I'm a baseball guy, but I'm a Giants guy. Clayton Kershaw, I think is the best pitcher in the game today, without a doubt. You've got King Felix up in Seattle. You got Strasburg and the other guys over there in
Kershaw is the best.
Washington, but Kershaw is the best. There's talk of him being the second coming of Sandy Koufax. Now, I didn't see Koufax pitch. I've seen video. You've seen them both. I mean,
the difference in those two is that Sandy 200 miles an hour plus.
Okay.
And they had the greatest curveball in the game. He and Nolan Ryan probably had the 2 best curveballs in the game at that time. Now, when Sandy said, "Here it is, let's see you hit it," and he just threw the hell out of it. And his curveball, was unhittable. That's one year he was 27-2, and Yogi Berra said, "How the hell did he ever lose 2 games?" I mean, that's how good a pitcher he was. Now, Clayton's the opposite. He does not overpower you with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but he's so deceiving with that windup of his. And, of course, he's got one of the best curveballs in the game also. Yeah. He's deceiving a 93-mile-an-hour, 94-mile-an-hour fastball, which is good. Don't misunderstand me. But because of his deceiving motion, when he lifts his leg up, puts it down, and lifts it back up again, man, you don't see that very often.
Right.
And when you do face, it's very deceiving, and he throws it out of his side of his shirt. So it's hard to hit. And then he has great location, and he's a really hard worker. Most stars got there because he had great ability. He has great ability, doesn't understand me, but he works hard at it.
Right.
And he's come up with some an off-speed pitch that's unhittable. He's just that at this time he's if he's not the best, he's one of the top 3 in all of baseball.
I agree. I think he is the best pitcher in the game today, hands down. I mean, if I have to pick one guy, I mean, it doesn't matter the situation. I think the playoff thing he'll work out, but man, he's pretty dang good. The Dodgers are in a great place, and I think the Dodgers, knocking on wood, I know it's season's long, it's a marathon, but I've got the Dodgers winning the West, with the Giants coming in as a wild card, and It's going to be fun. The last 3 or 4 years has been a blast with that rivalry with the Dodgers and the Giants, and it makes baseball better.
Last year we had the Cubs down 2-1.
Yes.
And we're up in the sixth inning, and they came back and they beat us to make it 2-2. But if we win that game, it's 3-1. Anything can happen after that.
Absolutely.
And, so if we beat them, we go in the World Series. So it's just it was a Cubs year. It was a Cubs year, and I was happy for the Cubs. I really was, because Joe Maddon's just a great guy. He helped Jimmy at the end of his career a lot. Like me, I pull for players and pull for managers. I wasn't really pulling for the Cubs as much as I was pulling for Joe Maddon, because he's just that kind of classy manager, and every team he's managed, the organization is better, the teams are better, the players, he makes them better, and that's how you win the World Series.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, is there a certain player? I mean, a couple players that you really like to watch in the game today?
Well, being that I love hitting, there's a plethora of great hitters today, and that's my whole thing. Is, being a catcher, I never did like pitchers. God gave great ability from the shoulder down, and nothing from the neck up. So that's why we have to call every pitch. We have to calm them down. We have to do everything. So my biggest thing is hitting, and there's so many good hitters out there today. It's with power. The old days, they wouldn't let us lift weights. They wouldn't let us swim. They wouldn't let us do anything. Today, they spend hours and hours in the weight room. Mm-hmm. That's why I tell people, the kids today, the players today, are so much stronger than we were. They're quicker, they're faster, they're stronger, because they do all the stuff. They have their core strength is probably double what ours was.
Right.
Now we go, and that's why I think today. That's why the athletes today, and no matter what it is, they have the knowledge to go out and make themselves better physically. Little shortstops, little second basemen are hitting 20 home runs. Mm-hmm. One year in the major leagues when I played, one guy, Yastrzemski, hit 300 in the whole American League. One 300 hitter. And 26 home runs led the league.
Right.
Now little guys are hitting 20 home runs. It's because they're not little. They're really powerful. They're strong. They're aggressive. And everybody hits the ball right center, left center. My day, we had opposite field hitters and we had pull hitters. Today, guys can handle. In fact, I saw an average. If you threw a pitch low and away in the old days, you had a good chance of getting somebody out of. Probably low and away pitch, probably guys hit like 110. I read this article the other day where low and away, the guys are hitting 300 off that pitch because everybody learned how to hit the ball away from them.
That's crazy.
And with power.
Yep. That's crazy. Once again, Jim Campanis Sr. with us. Jim, hey, we got to do this again sometime.
Sure, just invite me and I'm here.
Sounds good. We love to talk baseball, and I love chatting with you guys, and hopefully you guys do another book tour and swing up through Oregon again this summer.
Thank you.
All right, Jim. Hey, you have a good rest of the weekend.
Thank you very much.
All right. Once again, Mr. Jim Campanis Sr. He's right. I remember growing up, and you're a little bit younger than Brian and I, but Mike Schmidt was like a home run champion, and he was hitting, 33, 34 home runs? Yeah. Dale Murphy, 34 home runs. It was a big deal back in, 78, 79, when George Foster hit 52 for the Cincinnati Reds. And everybody, there was no steroid talk back then. 36, 37 home runs would win a home run title back in those days.
Then you jump up into the 50s, and we thought that was huge.
Yeah. Well, Brady Anderson, that one year, he goes from 17 to 52, 53.
Is that when the steroid talk started?
That's when the steroid talk started.
But they have these unbelievably great conditioning programs nowadays.
Oh my
I mean, they go to these schools and they go, man.
Have you seen some of the stuff that they've been doing? Holy crap! It's like CrossFit. But it's not CrossFit. I mean, it's the same.
It's the best.
Ideology.
They go to the best ones.
But box jumps, and you see them just lifting an ungodly amount of weight, and just, it's crazy.
And it's not only at the professional level now; it's at college and high school even.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the normal now.
Yeah.
I mean, was it different when you were coming up?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we did, strength and conditioning with, the Giants trainers and stuff like that, but I didn't go to any specific, programs.
Well, when you were coming up,
programs.
Now I remember when you first were coming up with the Giants. At that time they had trainers. They didn't really have strength and conditioning coaches.
No, not the big programs like they do now. Now they have a strength and conditioning coach at the big league level specifically for that.
Yep.
No, we just had the trainers back
and it wasn't mandatory. It wasn't mandatory weight room. The mandatory weight rooms didn't come in until like mid 2000s.
Yeah, maybe 10 years ago or something like that.
So, because I remember, back in 2006, working with Rob Nepper, and he'd tell me about how it was like in 99, 2000, where, okay, we've got training. We're going to go to the gym. If you want to go, here we go. Exactly. There's a bus going.
Yep.
It wasn't mandatory.
No, it's way different.
Now it is. Now it is mandatory. You got when you're on the road, they bus up and go to the gym for an hour and a half, and do the certain workouts, and
everybody's hitting jacks now, buddy.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, you look at some of these athletes.
I mean, Altuve, what is he, 5'5", but he's hitting 25 balls.
Oh, my gosh. That guy is just...
Strength and conditioning program.
He's amazing. Some guy, a little guy like that shouldn't be hitting bombs like that. But so strong.
And they're strong, fast, powerful, everything.
Right. What do you think about the intentional walk?
Yeah, I don't
rule?
like it either, man. When I heard that, I was like, oh, no, they're just going to send him to first base?
I just, it's what they do in softball slow pitch now.
Okay, Washington Post. Here's a couple things for you. 932 intentional walks last year in 2,428 games. A baseball game is now an average of 1.5 pitches shorter.
That's fucked. Excuse me, language, but...
Well, that just changed. We're now an explicit podcast. Intentional walks took an estimated 1,410 minutes in 2016. That is 35 seconds per game. That's it.
I don't know if it's worth it.
Well, guy said Will Clark single on an attempted intentional walk. It happens.
It does.
And they said one in every 300 intentional walks, something like that happens.
Right. So it's not often.
They're trying to speed up the game.
Yeah.
But you know what? It takes away the mental part. Baseball is, when you're a pitcher and a hitter, who can mind fuck who the best?
If they want, if they want to speed up the game, let's look at the mound visits. Let's look at, pitchers coming into the game. I don't necessarily think about taking warm-up pitches, but, maybe shorten that up a couple because they're already warming up coming in the bullpen.
Before the game, during the game,
and so...
On Twitter, at Royals Nation tweeted, I like the moment of the intentional walk, especially late in the game. I want the guy on deck to have enough time to get properly offended.
Oh, that's a good one.
There you go.
All right. Hey, once again, Tony Torquato back in the studio with us. It's about damn time.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to be back. Got to tell some stories, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, Brian, the man, Erickson. I almost called you Swede, but you're not Swede, though.
What you two stub muffins been doing anyways, though? Besides,
we've been
just
doing
living the dream, man. Living the dream.
Cool.
Not the workout room.
Yeah.
Me neither. I need to get back on that.
Hey, so we're going to come back at 10:30, and we're going to have a gentleman by the name of Ransom Jackson. Randy Ransom Jackson. Nice. You're not going to want to miss this. 91 years old. This guy was a Chicago Cub. The Cubs, the Dodgers, Brooklyn Dodgers at the time, traded for this gentleman to replace Jackie Robinson. Jackie at that time was getting older, and they thought that this guy was the one to replace him. And he was a pretty damn good ball player. Another career cut short by injuries.
Can't wait to hear this guy.
But cool. He is hilarious. You're not going to want to miss this. Randy Ransom Jackson coming in at 10:30. I'm Norm. We got Tony Torcato, Brian Erickson, and we are sponsored by Baseballisms. If you like my sweatshirt, my hoodie, or my hat, Brian, you didn't say anything about the new hat.
I mentioned it. I went like this. You were talking though, so
okay.
I was impressed. I didn't see mine in my little cubby hole though. So.
Yeah, I know. If you like them, check them out. Baseballisms.com. They got their grand opening coming up in April 1st up in Portland. So we're also sponsored by BaseballDudes.com. Chris Gazelle up there in Vancouver, Washington. To be the best, you must train like the best. Mitch Canham, Building an Athlete Sports Education. Mitch now is the skipper of the Modesto Nuts.
Oh, nice.
He likes to play with nuts. And his dad, Mark Canham at MDM Design. Mitch, we love you. You know we love you. I know you're not listening. Thank God. Mark Canham, MDM Designs. He does our Clubhouse Chatter shirts. And we stream live every time we're on at yamhilltoday.com. And you can find us at... We just skipped that part now, remember?
Normbo.
Clubhouse Chatter 1T, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, MLB.com blogs, and coming soon to KLYC 1260, the powerhouse of McMinnville, Oregon.
Well, the contracts haven't been totally signed, so we can't give away everything.
Coming soon.
Going big time.
All right, we'll be back at 10:30.